Next to me is the interim city manager, Glenn Whitcomb, and on his other side is Marcia Siegel-George, the city attorney. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the city manager selection committee today, Thursday, September 21st at 2023, 6 p.m. I'm going to call for the roll. If I call your name, just please say here. Rachel Amoroso.
Here.
Kathy Bryan.
Here.
Frank DeLisa. Here. Tara DeRico.
Here.
Jeff Fix. Larry French, who had another appointment, so he is not here. Terry Haynes.
I'm here.
Thank you. Courtney Hannon, I did get an email from her. She is running late, so she should be here shortly after we start. Davison, is it Harriet? Harriet. Carolyn Hickerson. Here. Edwin Lasanta.
Here.
Chris Nobick.
Here.
Emma Santiago, who is supposed to be meeting us.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm here.
And then Troy Shimkus.
Here.
Okay. So the first order of business is an overview of Florida's government and the Sunshine Law, which will be done by the city attorney, Marcia Siegel-George.
Good evening, everyone. I sent a memorandum to all of you in advance of the meeting, kind of going through Sunshine. This is a Sunshine Committee, and we are going to have to be governed by the rules of it. I thought I would just give you the memorandum and just open it up if anybody has questions they want to ask about it. I thought you all were going to explain what their mission is or what you're really doing in this committee, but my issues are more on the order of what you may or may not do under Sunshine. So just the basic, none of you can meet with another member. 2 is more than enough to break Sunshine. It has to be in a public meeting that's advertised. That's just bottom line. Then we get into some of the more obscure kind of issues that I wasn't really going to talk about unless somebody has a question or wants. And any of you can call me or email me or whatever if you have a question. So I don't see any reason to just go through obscure things that may or may not be relevant. So does anybody have a question? And if you don't, then I'm done.
Most of your communication via email is probably going to come from me. It may even come from the search firm. All I ask is don't hit reply all, because then you're having a conversation with each other, which is a meeting. So just hit reply to me. If you have any questions or anything like that, I'll be more than happy to get everybody my contact information. I can send it to everybody via email tomorrow morning so that everybody has it. I think if there's anything else.
So good evening. Some of you in the room know me. I'm Glenn Whitcomb. I'm the interim city manager. What we wanted to do was have this first meeting to talk a little bit about the Sunshine Law to see if you had any questions. I believe most of you in the room, you've been to plenty of the city commission meetings and other meetings. I believe some of you are on other boards, so you kind of are used to the Sunshine Law requirements. What I wanted to mention, Joyce was talking about emails. One of the things is with the emails, what we want to do is funnel all the emails to Joyce, through Joyce. So anything that you have, send it to Joyce, and she will make sure it gets out and the questions get answered, and then she will respond to you. We want to make sure that we only have one person from the city. Joyce and I will be attending these meetings and with y'all and trying to work with you to steer us all in the right way. As you know, we have put out an RFP for a search firm, and did you give them? Okay, so you should have a email with the schedule itself as far as the way this is going. The timeline. So far on 9/14 of 23, the RFP was sent out and a legal ad was placed in the Orlando Sentinel. 10/13/23 would be the 30-day deadline for the RFP purposes or responses. Once our purchasing division gets those RFPs in, then they're distributed. They have to go through them and make sure it's complete and all the forms and affidavits and everything is complete in that package. Once we receive those, purchasing receives those and goes through them, then the next week on 10/17, which I believe is a Tuesday, the RFP responses and score sheets will be provided to the commission. And then on 10/31, there's a 15-day review deadline for commissioners to score the sheets, and then we will have a special meeting on the 1st, November the 1st, and the City Commission will go over the RFP responses and the score sheets, and then the commission will either decide if they want to rank and score, or they're going to be scoring, but rank the top firms there and choose a firm at that point, or whether they want to interview the firms. So if the commission decides they want to interview the firms, then that meeting would be held on 11/16 of 23 to interview the search firms, again, if it's decided if it's their will, if that's what they want to do. And then, tonight obviously is the first selection committee meeting to go over the rules. So that's kind of the schedule that's laid out for this process. And so Marcia has kind of talked about, is there any questions on the Sunshine Law, anything anybody has at this point? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
They said it's on? It's on. Okay. So Joyce, you had mentioned if the search firm were to contact us, should we just forward that email to you and let you answer?
They'll contact me, and through me, I will let you know if they have any questions or issues or anything like that.
Okay, so then they shouldn't be contacting us directly?
Correct.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Taking the mic over here. Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up. The search firm will be working with the committee, as we go through this process. They will be working with you all, and us. We'll be here. There might be, we have Sandy Jackson is in the room behind you all. She is works for the city manager in the city commission office. Sandy may be filling in from time to time. If I can't be here, she will be here. So Joyce will be here at all the meetings along with the search firm. So we'll be represented, and we're here to try to facilitate this process. And so once we get the search firm, once the commission decides which search firm they want to go with, and everything is done, the contracts are done and everything else, then we'll have a meeting with the search committee. Everybody will come in and we'll have a meeting date set. They'll go through some of the stuff, and then at that point, that's when you'll be working with them to come up with the different things. My vision is looking at the what requirements we're looking for city manager. What types of things are we looking for? And that was one of the reasons that you all were chosen for this committee, from your commissioners, from your respective commissioners. So that's kind of where we are. One of the next, I guess I jumped ahead. I'm sorry, I went to C kind of ahead of time. But what we would like to do is have you all, the selection committee, nominate and vote in a chair and a vice chair for this committee, so that they would be running the meetings. We would just be here facilitating, basically. So is there any nominations or anyone? Have y'all had a chance to think about what you want to? Yes, Ms. Bryant.
Can we make our nomination now?
Yes.
I know he's not here. I know you had to leave it. I was going to nominate Larry French for the chair.
Okay.
I'll nominate Tara DiArco.
Okay, for the chair?
For chair.
Okay.
I'll second Tara.
Okay. Any other nominations?
Close the nomination.
Okay. Hearing none, we close nominations for chair only. So then I'll let you take this right now.
So everybody in favor of Tara DiRico for the chair, say aye.
Do I vote?
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
I say aye. I think we
And do
lost
we have a nomination for the vice chair? So,
I would nominate Troy Shimkus for vice chair.
do we have a second? Any other nominations? Kath?
Oh, sorry. Can I nominate Mr. Harriet?
Do we have a second for that nomination?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
To announce the chair.
So the chair for the committee is Tara DeRico, with the vice chair being Davison. I'm going to say it wrong every time. I want to say Harriet. And so the next meeting that you guys have, which probably will be months out, because again, your job is to look at once we get the search firm will work with the commission to get the advertisement done and all the criteria that they want for a city manager. You as residents are going to give your input to them, as you usually do. And then once they put that on the street, however many days they decide to go ahead and advertise it, and we start collecting those applications, they're vetted by the search firm. The search firm narrows it down, say there's 20, they narrow it down to 10 or whatever. That 10 group will go to the commission and will go to you at the same time. And you guys will basically be in charge of going through those, doing your own searches. You can choose to do individual interviews with them. You can choose to do in a setup like this, and we can have them all, Zoom in and do a group interview. You're going to pick what questions if you do that. That's kind of what your goal and your responsibility is, and then at the end we'll score whatever we've got, and then we present that to the commission, and then the commission takes that into consideration with their own scoring.
I've got a question. Sorry, it's Terry on the screen here. Sorry, I'm out of town for work tonight. Are we, because you had said that we were able to interview the candidates or whatever, are we also able to reach out to former employers to get input, like another city, to get an idea of when this person left, to see if there's information there, the reason they left, whether they were pleased, et cetera, et cetera? Is that something that we're legally able to do? And if we are, how would we go about doing that?
Marcia, you want to?
Yeah.
As I said at the beginning, you're a sunshine committee, and that means, and you were all appointed by the commission to represent your district. You're also going to have a headhunter that's going to be handling the search and also vetting the candidates. So we can't, if you want to talk to other people, the only way I know to cure it in this committee would be just like we do at the P&Z. You would have to list all your ex parte communications, who you talk to, when and where. That's the only way to do it. So, from my perspective, you should be doing that kind of info. You have the choice to interview each of them individually. You have the choice to interview them, all of you together. You can do any mix of those things, but it's going to have to be you all doing it. And you're then, but you can choose a method of how you want to do it. And then that information that you all gather is going to be then what will be used when you ultimately vote and rank these candidates that you then will give to the commission.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is I'm a former headhunter.
You have a headhunter for that. The headhunter is going to do that that's going to be part of their contract. They're going to run all of that search or whatever. Now, the headhunter is also going to interact with all of you. So if you feel or you have some reason to feel that you have a question, then you're going to share that with the headhunter. And then, as Joyce said earlier, that kind of information is going to filter through Joyce for the most part. But you cannot go out there and start doing your own reference checks.
Well, the first thing you said was we just had to disclose it as ex parte communication.
Well, I didn't mean reference checks. I'm talking about I've also had another individual who wants to go and survey people in the community. Can't do that either. You're a sunshine committee unless that individual is going to have the ex parte communication. References are a whole different game. That's one of the reasons you hire this headhunter and pay whatever their fees are going to be.
And with all due respect, I do agree with that to an extent. I have been a headhunter professionally. That was my job. And there are really good recruiters out there, and there are really shady recruiters out there. So that's why I'm just curious about how the references are done, because we've seen other search firms and how things have been handled various places. So I just want to kind of have an idea legally and what's protocol. So thank you for the answer. That helps somewhat.
Yeah.
I'll just make sure that I've got questions on the references, because that to me is a...
And if I could address that, these folks are going to go through a rigorous process with regard to checking their credentials. These are all headhunters that deal with public jobs for the most part. And there are private recruiters and public recruiters, but we can't have different people running around gathering other information outside of that process, because the question is then that all has to be vetted. But you're going to have the headhunter, whoever is selected, interact with all of you. So if you have some concerns about their process or how they're pursuing that process, that is something you can definitely bring up and talk about. But we have to control the process. Yes, sir.
Will we be brought into the process?
Excuse me, Davidson, could you use your mic, please? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Oh, there it is. So will we be brought into the process prior to the selection firm
Of the headhunter? No.
Correct.
But when the
providing the 10 recommendations or however? Because what I think I'm understanding is that, Terry, you're saying that we can interact with the headhunter, and if we have additional questions, they can relay those questions and find an answer.
yes, but
Okay,
you're
but if
not
they've
gonna-
already provided, so
I
where's
guess-
the back and forth?
Okay, the problem, okay, so they're going out, the city's going out to bid from these proposals that are going to be submitted. And then from those proposals that are going to be submitted, they're going to either be ranked or however, and then they may interview them or they may choose based on their rankings. Once they're selected, then they're going to go through the process of advertising and asking for candidates with regard to qualifications. Okay. When they get however many they get and meet with the commission to try and finalize all of this, they're going to have 10, 12, 15, I don't know, 20. At that point, you guys become activated. And so now nobody has been selected other than these are the potential finalists, and they're going to be going through a process of vetting and stuff. But it's my understanding at that point, when you all are activated, you're going to have whoever the headhunter that is selected here to meet with all of you. So you, at that point, you can discuss those kinds of things, or if and when you have issues with regards to it. The problem is that it is a complicated process, and you have to have some controls on how it goes. So that's my understanding. Do you agree with that?
Yes,
Glenn?
what I'd like to do is jump in here for just a second. When the commission chooses a firm, a search firm, and let's change the name, let's call it search firm. Okay, let's call it search firm. That's a little more appropriate. So, I'm sorry.
Semantics matter.
Yeah, sometimes the way something's labeled, it does matter. I agree. So let's say the search firm, once the commission selects the search firm, they do a vote, and because then once they're selected, we have to go through a contracts process in order to hire them. We can't, you have to go through the purchasing policy or procedures to hire them. And once that's done, the contract's negotiated, the fees are set, everything is set, then the search firm would have a kickoff meeting with the commission, And, at that time, I would assume and I would think that their search firm would be able to meet with the selection committee such as you all, and you could, discuss the types, the characteristics or what you're looking for in a city manager to give advice of what you think that person should have background-wise, educational, experience, all the above. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning at this point. The RFP has already went out, and when it comes back in, the commission will do their part, and they will be ranking them or scoring them and then ranking them. We go through all that, then we will start setting meetings up with the search firm, and go from there. And that's kind of the way we need to do this, and then we may find out once we get to that point, we may have to have more meetings, with you all, and that type of thing. So anything else? Any other questions?
I have some questions. I'm Carolyn Hickerson.
Oh.
Hi. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. One, will the community be able to come to these meetings and give us their opinions also as to what they want so that we can avoid future issues with the community and the commission? We want to tap down those kind of problems. Second, we don't have a choice then in the search firms, and the previous search firms that we've had have given us bad candidates. So how do we avoid those problems in the future? Third, the checking of the credentials that the search firm has done in the past has given us some poor choices for candidates. So again, we want to avoid those issues, and I want to know how we're going to do that. Are we going to accept outside resumes outside of search firms? And how do we avoid finalist troubles? Like it says here, the commission's going to make these determinations for the search firm. My personal goal in this would be that we find a way to bring the community and the commission together so that we can avoid the hard problems and the hard issues and the hard feelings of, I just don't want to see that kind of drama taking place at our commission, because that's the whole point of us being here, is that, we're going to want to get the best. And if other search firms have been hired and they've performed poorly, and the commission may already have in mind a firm that we're unaware of, because they're going to make that selection. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Well, I can pretty much tell you that no firms have been chosen at this point. There's nothing, this RFP went out to start the slate all over. Okay. So they will be scoring and ranking those. I don't know of anybody, I have not heard any word of anybody has anybody in mind, because number one, when you go out for an RFP and it's sealed, when it comes back in, nobody can look at them until that date. So they're due on that Friday at 2 o'clock. That's when purchasing department opens those, unseals them, opens them up. It's no information is shared. The commission actually is not supposed to talk to each other about what they're doing with their scoring, because it's a committee type setup. So when they do that, when they get the RFPs and they go through the process, and the commission's been through it before. They've been through these before. Now we do have new commissioners on the board. And so we will be continuing to explain from the city employee side of what the policies and procedures for doing this type of thing on the selection committee. Because basically, yes, ma'am, they are the commission, and people are human. We're all human, and sometimes we may have a preconceived notion on how we want an outcome of something. I mean, let's be honest. I agree. I understand what you're saying, but there's no way for any one of us in this room right now to know who, including myself, who is submitting for this RFP. Who's going to be involved, we don't know. If we will send out, if some of the search firms that responded on the last one that you saw from a couple of years ago, if some of those search firms the city did not use them, in other words, so that's the reason the commission directed me and city staff to go back out for an RFP, because they may have seen a firm or two when they were doing the, looking at them before and scoring. But I just don't think, and just my personal opinion, I don't think anybody has a preconceived notion of what firm they want. I mean, they could, but I don't think so. And you will, once we get the selection firm in place, or the search firm, I'm not trying to change the name, but the search firm, I'm sorry. Once we get them in place, we'll get a little more direction on which way we will be going with the committee, at that point. We're just trying to lay out, the schedule of what we're trying to do, because we want you all to be fully aware of if I would have had my choice, I would have said, because we were going to try to move forward quickly. But the commissioners have talked to me individually, some of them have, and the concern is if we go too fast and you don't get the right person, and there's no guarantee with anything. I don't care what job or what position, whether it be city manager, whether it be a CEO of a company or a financial officer, anything like that. There's no guarantee that you're going to get exactly what you're looking for. I mean, and to answer another one of your questions, I'm sorry to get on to answer your other question as far as outside resumes, they will be sent directly to the search firm. So yes, there will be outside things besides what the search firm that will be sent to them, and they will be looking through those. Yes, ma'am.
Glenn, question, and I'm sorry, Marcia, I saw you just brought the microphone back. So this may be a Marcia question too.
Here, I'll give her my mic gladly.
So I think, Marcia, I think I heard you say you suggested, or because of sunshine, we really should not be going out and talking to the residents about this as well. Was that correct?
Well, again, you have sat at the P&Z,
right? So
you understand ex parte communication. Sunshine meetings, regulated by the state of Florida, just like the issue of references. If you guys get them, that's I will call them the search firm. The search firm has insurance and everything.
Right. Yeah. Totally understand that.
If you have somebody who comes in and said, "Yeah, I heard something on social media that guy or girl did blah 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 blah," city has liability for those kinds of things. We're talking about tortious interference with a person's career and all of those type of things.
I completely understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason why I was asking for just a clarification is because I know these are public meetings, but is there possible that when we do start to have another meeting, that we can have a meeting where we actually invite the public to come and...
Yeah, I did research on that, because technically the sunshine rules are that the meeting must be in public, you must have record minutes, all of those kinds of things. You guys are not a typical kind of sunshine committee when you get to public comment. So there's laws in Florida. There's actually a relatively recent case that says basically on a committee like this, public comment is limited because of the type of committee. But by the same token, I think that when you get to the point where you want to interview, and I think to the point that, or you want to look at whatever, I think that those 1 or 2 meetings, we could have limited public input. But again, we have liability, so we have to, we don't want somebody standing up and saying something that may be inappropriate that could affect that person's career or whatever, and hasn't necessarily been vetted. So that's why you hire search firms, because they carry the liability and they go through a very scrupulous process to do that kind of work. So the chair and the vice chair are going to have to, if we do have limited public comment, you're going to have to be very careful with people and what they may say, and if they want to go into some that kind of information, you're going to have to shut them off and say that thank you, and then talk to the search firm through Joyce,
Right.
and then check it out. I'm not saying you shouldn't check out this kind of information, but we have to be very careful how it is handled. And
Right. So my my perspective was not for people to come up and give like personal, this person did this person, but more of the general is this is what we would want to see in a city manager, and these are the qualifications that we would like to see.
And I think we can do those things. All I'm saying is the chair and the vice chair are going to
Need to stay super tight.
Very tight on that, because
You hear that, Davison?
People have a tendency to want, it's not social media.
Right.
And so many people are so indoctrinated with social media, they say those things online, they think they can come in here in public and say it too. But we have to protect, we have to protect the applicants, and we have to protect the city. And so that gives this added difficulty and responsibility.
So and I'm just going to, and we don't have to solve for this tonight, but maybe just something to think on is, so then maybe a different way to do it might be to have a meeting like that before we even know who the applicants are. So people can't make it personal. Then it's just, these are the qualifications we're looking for. This is what we would not be looking for. Just throwing that out there.
Tara, that's a good idea. And I think that, I'm sure that Glenn and Joyce, we're not sitting here trying to tell you how you all are going to do it, but we have to make sure you understand the difficulties of this type of a committee, and we're protecting other people in this process, including the city. And so if you want to do it a different way so that we're not so much jeopardized by the social media kind of, I saw him last Friday, laying in the street, and he didn't have any clothes on, that kind of, no, we don't want any of those kind. We have to be very careful.
Understood.
And so, but no, I think we're not trying to prevent you all from doing your duty and what you feel strongly that you're here to do. But we have to make you aware of these kinds of issues. And that's why I think I've been doing this for 45 years, and in that time they were always called headhunters, so I have to learn his new language, search firm. That's part of the value of the search firm. Part of what we're paying for is to keep them in that realm, and also try and prevent us from having any liability in the process. By the same token, like what we just said, if some information is learned or revealed, we ship it back to the search firm, let them do an additional investigation or whatever, and then get back to Glenn and to Joyce. So, but I mean, I think you have to have a real understanding, a real world understanding of how we have to handle this. And the distinction between that and people saying all sorts of things about everybody on social media. Now, I grew up before social media, so it's particularly offensive to me, so I can always discern the differences, but you all are going to have to use that search firm to try and help you find out what you all feel you need to know.
Thank you.
Marsha. I think Courtney has a question, and then we'll go to Terry. It should be on.
I think they're all.
If it's green, it's on.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You just got to pull it close.
Regarding the search firm and when they actually choose and make a selection,
They will not choose. They're going to be recommending a group. The ultimate choice of who makes the finals is going to be the commission.
I'm sorry, I mean the selection of the search firm, not the search firm
okay.
applicants. So the RFP's gone out, we're going to get proposals back, they're going to score them, they're going to make a selection of which search firm they recommend use.
Or interview.
So how is that information going to be portrayed to the city and the public in any fashion where they're going to be able to come and...
I'm not.
The scoring will actually be on an agenda live. You'll be able to come to the meeting.
That's the normal process.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been through this twice already, so.
And is that something where then the committee is going to vote on it after public comment, where the public will
commission
be
will
able to
vote on
provide
it.
their input? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we go to Terry now?
just a quick question regarding the RFP and the search firm, and I'm used to saying headhunter as well. But in the days when I was with a search firm, we had a guarantee in our contracts for our clients. So, depending on the position and, the level of position, there was a guarantee of so many days or so many months that, yes, this candidate that you're hiring will be with your company or your organization, you'll be happy with their work. If they quit before, or if you decide to release them from that, then the fee that was paid to my firm was refunded to the client. We called it a fall off, basically. Is there something like that in this? So let's say we pay, I don't know what our fee structure is, $100,000, for this candidate, and in 6 to 8, 9 months they leave, or the commission all of a sudden decides there's a reason for them to be released. What is it that the city will get back, or are we just literally out that money?
No.
In the RFP, there is a provision in there for a 1-year warranty. So, and I don't remember off the top of my head the exact wording, but there is something stated in there.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Edwin, go ahead. It's a big room.
Copy of the RFP,
Sure.
because in that way we could understand what is being asked of those search firms as far as their requirements that they need to have in order to meet the requirements for the city. Second, based on the lady's comments, can that previous search firm that was hired for the previous search can be excluded, or cannot be excluded?
I'm not sure if they can be excluded or not, but I'm pretty sure that the commission will do their due diligence and pick a firm that
Represents the current situation.
putting words in my mouth, that represents the current situation. I agree.
There's not too many of these search firms, as someone that's
I
been through
understand,
this.
but yeah, I just want to make sure that I understand that, because I thought this process was different, but you have outlined it pretty well. That whatever amount of search firms are available, that the best, as she was stating, is probably hopefully selected. And if one has already a bad record, like you said, they might not be even consider it.
Do you mind if I talk, Tara? I'm sorry. I don't mean to. You're running the meeting, and I'm trying to answer a question, so I apologize.
I'm trying to run the meeting, but it's my first one, so we'll get better after this. We'll get tighter.
No, you all are doing a great job. If y'all can put up with me, you're doing really great. So, yes, we can get the RFP out to y'all. A copy of the RFP is public record, so that's not a problem. And we look forward to getting through this process and you all working together as a team that's been assembled here, along with the city liaisons. Primarily, your liaison will be Joyce, but I will be kind of here and trying to back up what I can. So, yes, we will get that to you. Did you have another question? I'm sorry.
That was the two
sorry.
questions I had.
Okay.
I think Kathy had a question.
I did, sorry. Bouncing off what Ms. Hickerson said, because I had some confusion about whether or not we were going to help with the search firm. So being that the commission is going to pick that, and given the sunshine laws, are we allowed to, like let's say they discuss it at a commission meeting, are we allowed to talk about the search firm itself, like say, this is what I'd like to see in the search firm? Or is that, any way to convey our feelings to the commission on that?
Yeah, I would think you could do that as a resident. I think you could.
I just don't want to get in trouble.
It's a public.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's a public
That's,
meeting.
that's something I was a little confused on, mainly because we kind of got reprimanded in the last one for even speaking to the city commissioners, but it was a public forum and it was being recorded, so I was a little confused as where that stands for sunshine law in terms of being a resident and wanting to come to the city commission meetings and do a public comment and speak to them. Is that against the sunshine law?
Not in a public meeting.
No, I don't think so. It's a
Okay.
public meeting.
We kind of her and
Now, I'm not an attorney, so
got up and talked and spoke, and
I know I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, but besides that,
I'm sorry, I think there was someone to my left that may have had a question. Did I miss somebody? Yeah. Oh, you, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm invisible now, I realize that. It's okay, Tara. It's okay. And you're doing fine. You're doing fine. It's difficult to herd cats, I understand. First of all, what's worked well in other committee meetings like these is if you do want to be recognized to speak, if I could suggest that you would just take your little tent and put it up like that, and that way Tara can see that rather than you have to raise your hand and then she doesn't know if you want to talk, if you did want to talk, and that, so if you leave that up, and then once she recognizes you, just put it back down, it'll be a lot easier on her because everybody wants to get heard and have their time. Terry, if you can mute up there because you keep clicking. There you go. Thank you so much. I was on the Charter Review Committee, and that committee, like this committee, is advisory to the commission. We have no power. As far as taking public input, that's certainly a great thing to do, but the main thing that we're, I think, charged with is assisting the commission in this process that they've established, and they can change at any time. They can take all the work that we do and take it to heart, or they can take it and say, no, we really don't want to listen to what they had to say. And it is a process. It's a slow and grueling process, as is everything in city government. And we have, if you will, been selected by the commissioners to provide some of that public input, be the public side of it. I think that's kind of this committee's role is, I don't want to use the word represent, but to be kind of that public voice, that controlled voice that operates within the process and have some structure to it. Certainly you can go to a commission meeting and say whatever you want to say whenever you want to say it. You're a resident. Being on the committee doesn't void your right to be able to speak at a commission meeting. Just remember the process and how important this is. These commissioners, these 6 commissioners and the mayor that are sitting up there right now, this is the absolute most important thing that they're going to do as a commissioner. This person under our form of government runs the city. The commission sets policy. They don't run the city. And so we have an opportunity here to pick somebody that is going to try and bring all sides together. But the reality of that, that's not really going to happen. You're never going to please everybody all the time. That's just human nature. People are going to disagree. So our job in this process is to try and be advisory to the commission. And that's very important. There's one other board in the city that's not advisory, but all the other boards are advisory to the commission. And so they've chosen each of us because of our public involvement, our experience, what we did in a previous life, whatever. Each commissioner had a reason for picking us, whether it was political or professional. I don't know. But just understand that the time you're going to dedicate to this is very important. We as a group will be more powerful to the commission if we speak in basically one voice, that we air out what we have to air out here, that Tara keeps us controlled and keeps us on track with what our task is. And I think it's important, Mr. City Manager, that you convey to the commission that for this process and for us to be very effective will greatly depend on them giving us clear guidance of what they want from us. And I think there's an old process in place, and certainly this commission can follow that old process, or they can change that process. But the more clarity and direction that they give what they want from this advisory board, I think will make it, our time and our effort and our work that we're putting in be more valuable to them, and that we don't get bogged down in some sideshow that may come up because somebody doesn't like what they hear or see coming out of this meeting. And everybody in here has different backgrounds, has different ideas of what they want to see out of this, but it doesn't matter really what we want to see. It's what the commission is directing us and giving us as our charge that's important. And they can disband this group anytime they want to. If they don't like what's going on here and they get frustrated with it, if it looks like we're being non-productive and causing liability issues for the city, or something we do causes a good potential candidate to be scared off because we become dysfunctional, the commission can say, you know what, this isn't helping the process. We're gonna end this. So just keep that in mind, that we're advisory, and that we can talk to people and get input from people. Certainly, we all have our own lives out there in the community. We go out to eat with people. We interact with people all the time. But just keep that in mind, that this is advisory. We truly don't have any power. We're serving under the graces of the commission and what they want, and we need to help them in this process as much as we can, because they're no different than you and me. They really aren't. They're just average working people or retired people that got elected, that decided they want to do that. And so when I was on the commission, the more information I could get to help me make a decision, I looked forward to that, and I tried to absorb as much of that as I could. Doesn't mean I have to take the information, but I think that's our role here, is just advisory to them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Carolyn?
I want to tell you thank you, because you've actually given more clarity to me than I understood our role to be, and I want to thank you for that, because I do think that we can work together as a team, because we really all are sitting here because we want the best for our city, and we want whoever is chosen to be able to work with our city and provide the information to the commission in a timely manner, and not pussyfoot around, that they'll just, be clear with what their, their intentions are, and that they will be clear to the mayor and the commissioners. And you have really given a lot of clarity to help me understand our role in this, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I can go home now.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I just have a quick
Go. 1 second, Emma. We've
a question.
Yes,
Since we're advisory board, I go home, and in a couple of weeks, I'm approached by somebody in my community, and they say, I understand you're on the commission for looking into a city manager. What response am I allowed to say or not allowed to say, or how much am I allowed to say?
I would, Marcia?
Keep this down.
That's what I'd like to know.
There's no good answer. I mean, just because I'm a lawyer doesn't mean I can give you a good answer. Basically, you just tell them that you've been appointed, and basing a lot, as to what Mr. Novick said. I mean, that you've been selected, that you're working in a group, and you're all going to work together and be involved in this process to help the commission hire a candidate that you think will be good for the city. I wouldn't offer specifics. I wouldn't talk about whatever you may have heard or known, and just keep it within that kind of thing, so that, we're not in any kind of sharing little bits and pieces of information that appears like then it may have significance, but it may not. And, that's what I think, as you wait to kind of have your big startup, as any of you are asked about this, I think that you heard a really good explanation of what you're all going to sit and do and why you're here, and that you're happy to do this work for this city, and you're hoping that you'll help the commission get a really good result. We have to, and because people want to know these kinds of things, or they want to know some little piece of information that they can run and tell somebody else, you all just have to be very careful in how you explain your role. And I think you've heard some really good information information from everybody about it, and you need to kind of keep on the down low until you actually get into the work, and you all work together to come up with something. So and that's, I mean, we seem to be living in a society that is really into gossip anyway. And so the best for every one of you is to just stay real professional about this is what you're doing and this is why you're doing it. If anybody wants more information than that, then I would question what they're trying to get out of you. So that's the lawyer talking. But otherwise, the rest of it is just, I think you've heard some real good information from how people feel and what they, how they look at all of this, and that's where I would stick in that area and just not be rude or anything. But
Great. Thank you, Marcia. We'll go to Emma, and then after Emma, we have Rachel has a question. Okay. Go ahead, Emma.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Commissioner, or Mr. Novick, thank you again for saying that advisory board is here to help the commissioners to make those decisions. But I do wanted to ask Mr. Wickham, you said the RFP did go out. Was it advertised? And what was the date? And again, the responses, when are they due?
The RFP went out on 9/14/23 last week, and a legal ad was placed at that time. It went in the, I believe, Sunday's paper, the Sunday after the 14th, which would have been the 16th or 17th. I'm bad at dates sometimes. And the RFP will be out for around 30 days, so it's due on 10/13/23, and then RFP and score sheets will be provided to the commission on 9/17, the responses themselves, and then 10/31/23. That's the end of a 15-day review deadline for the commissions to do their score sheets. And then we're looking at possibly doing a special commission meeting on 10/1/23 for the commission to go over the selection firms.
11/1.
I mean, I'm 11/1. There we go with the dates again. I'm sorry. 11/1.
Okay.
And Emma, this was passed out to everybody today. I will email it to you first thing in the morning.
Awesome, and I do apologize for not being.
I'm sorry.
I've just been out away for training for work, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel?
Not so much a question. I mean, maybe it is a question, but these meetings are recorded, so it's important, I find, that if somebody does approach you and you don't want to talk or you're not sure of what you can talk about, you can always advise people to the website and watch the meeting themselves. I think one thing that's especially important about Sunshine is if I run into you in the street, that we're not discussing what we saw, what we talked about, or what we're going to do. So if a member of the public does approach you, a very good thing that I found is that you can tell them, these meetings are all on the website. You can watch them at any time.
That's great. Thank you. And they're live now, too, on YouTube and Deltona TV. Any closing comments, Joyce, City Attorney, Marcia? All right. So do we need a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. We got a card up. Nope.
One quick final question. Is there already a scheduled next meeting for this committee, or are we waiting for...
It depends on if this process sticks.
Okay.
So like the commission can, like Commissioner Novick said, they can change it. So this is kind of tentative. They know about it. So
an email?
If anything changes, I will go ahead and I will send a revised schedule out if that helps everybody.
Okay.
And then, Joyce, I think we just need to make sure Courtney came in late, so
Yes,
if the
I
record
got it.
reflects that she's here.
Yep.
Davison?
Can I just piggyback on that? Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, David. Just piggyback on that same topic, I was going to ask if we could maybe discuss for a hot second scheduling of our next meetings in terms of dates and times. Tuesdays and Thursdays aren't always the best for me, so I didn't know if we had already decided it was going to be Thursdays or if we need to start clearing some schedules to understand, like after the November date, we're going to have to look at Thursdays or...
Yeah, sorry, it's open house at all the schools.
Yeah, we have no idea. Your next meeting's probably not not going to be till December, January.
Okay.
By the time they get through this, and that's again provided that they don't change it, and we have to get the search firm here. If it's somebody from out of state, we have to make sure that they get a representative here if there's travel involved. So there's some other logistics. And then what will probably happen is I guess I can send out dates and you guys can kind of say, okay, this day's not good for me, this day's good for me. Or you can do that now if you want, and then I can at least start gathering the information. But
I guess
it's going to be hard to get all 14, I
A
think.
better question might be, what is the format going to be of the next meeting in terms of, is it going to be us getting together to discuss what our potential interview questions or process will be? Or is it that the candidate's going to come in and we got to interview them?
Because the next time you meet will be once we've gotten the applications and they've been vetted originally from the search firm, and once they've been narrowed down by the commission. At that point, the search firm is going to want to meet with you guys. I'll have passed out all of the applications to you, and then you guys can discuss whether you want to do individual interviews, do interviews all together, maybe talk about your questions. You're going to get really probably more in depth at that meeting.
Okay, all right, perfect.
So we'll go to Davison and then Mr. Novick.
I just want to make sure that, Joyce, you have everybody's contact email now.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you. I would just put it out there. I personally think it would be helpful to this group for us, once the search firm is selected, to have a meeting with us and the search firm, just for them to introduce themselves to us and maybe for them to give a little more clarity of what they expect out of us, rather than waiting until applications and stuff go out. Because in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, I heard us say we were going to, maybe I'm wrong, but we're going to help the commission provide some qualifications to go on the applications to go out into the world to look for applicants. I don't know if that's the commission's desire to do that, but again, the search firm, when they get selected, if they meet with us, then they can again tell us what our parameters are as they understand it from the commission and that. Thank you.
Mr. Novick, that is the intention for the search firm to meet with this committee and go over ground rules and, you know, the way the process will work with them. So that is the intention.
So
Yes,
once they're selected, then we'll have a meeting with the
Yes, sir.
search firm. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
I'm sorry. When we meet with them, like you just said, will we be able to input the qualifications that we as citizens are looking for? Will we be able to give our opinion on the things that, as a citizens group, we would like to see a qualification of the candidates?
Yes, ma'am. That's my vision. That's what I envision. And I'm not trying to, you know, yes.
Yes, sir.
Rachel had mentioned that the meetings are recorded. Being new to this, what site do I go to?
You can go to Deltona. Go ahead.
Deltona.gov is linked.
Yeah,
It's
and you can go to
deltonafl.gov, and there's links on there that you click on. You know, Deltona TV. Well, this is going to be actually a video that will be up probably. We'll get you that information, but you can go to our website, deltonafl.gov, and there will be a spot on there for you to be able to click on and go watch these meetings. And we will make sure that Joyce sends an email out giving full direction on that so that everybody has it, and we're not just talking about it at this point.
Yeah, and if you have a smart TV, you can go to Deltona TV, and you can watch them as well. You're welcome.
Motion to adjourn?
Carolyn, okay.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair?
Second.
There you go. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.